Hello, EnteiTainment here. My name is Daniel, finally welcoming you to the draft breakdown for the Season 6 draft of the CSML. I am sorry that it took me a while to come out with this. I wanted to make sure that I had enough information to talk about, and I really wanted to become more familiar with my draft before I tried to make a PowerPoint on it. So that's why it took me a little bit, but I hope this will be satisfying for all of you who are waiting. So what's going to happen basically is I'm going to talk about three main things. I'm going to talk about my plan going into the draft as well as what we ended up with. I'm going to go down each of the Pokemon individually and talk about all the pros and everything that these Pokemon bring to the table for me. I didn't make a list of cons, but I can probably just talk about that as we go down. And then finally, I'm going to look at the draft as a whole, look at draft-wide synergy, and list some pros and cons for the entire draft, like combined, not individually. So without further ado, we're going to hop into it and look at my strategy going into the draft, which was basically just going for hyper offense. So this meant that I wanted really fast Pokemon at high speed tiers. I also wanted as many wall breakers as possible, as many boosters as possible, sticky whip support if I could get it, and priority, which are all elements of a hyper offense team. And since our franchise is Terrakion, basically all these bullet points are already satisfied by Terrakion except the sticky whip support. He is definitely potentially a hyper offense Pokemon. He's a crazy wall breaker. He can boost in many different ways, and he even has quick attack. So Terrakion is basically epitome of the strategy. But this was the dream going into the draft. So this is what in a perfect world I would have gotten, and obviously we did not live in a perfect world, so spoiler alert, we did not get this team. But I really wanted Mega Charizard, Latias, Terrakion, Galvantula, Empoleon as a Defiant user and really great hazard control, Flygon as a pivoter and hazard control, Ditto, Frostlass, Primeape as another Defiant user, Vivillon, Leafeon with that Sun synergy with Charizard, and then for the final pick there's just a question mark because I didn't have anything in mind for the final pick. I was fully expecting to get everything sniped, not everything, most of the stuff sniped, and I didn't feel comfortable planning for a final pick. I was just gonna look at what was available to me and take from there. So that's why there's no there's no final pick. But anyways, this was the dream, and from the dream, this is what we ended up with. So obviously we got Terrakion since he is our franchise, and then we got 5 others in Latias, Galvantula, Ditto, Frostlass, and Vivillon. So I'm pretty happy with this. I really wanted Zard-Y, and I really wanted Flygon. So it was kind of sucked. Flygon is a C tier Pokemon, and it was actually taken in B tier, so that's why it wasn't available to me. Charizard was picked up, I think, 2 slots before me, so that really sucked. And other than that, I'm not too upset. I didn't get any Defiant users, which it was something I was kind of planning on. I didn't think Primeape was going to get taken as fast as it was, or Empoleon, honestly, so I am a little sad that I didn't get any Defiant users because I'm going to have a lot of hazards on this team. But regardless, this is the squad we ended up with. To replace Charizard, we got Houndoom. To replace Empoleon, we got Feraligatr. To replace Flygon, we got Dugtrio. In the place of Primeape, we got Zangoose. And finally, in the place of Leafeon, we got Armaldo. And a final pick of Ninetales wraps it all up. So this is the squad all together in one location for you guys to see. I'm pretty happy, I would say, overall, but I'm not going to say too much because we're going to be going very in depth in the upcoming slides. So I think we're just going to hop right into it. So first we have Cerberus, the Houndoom. Cerberus is the dog that guards the underworld, I do believe, in Greek mythology, perhaps, so seemed appropriate. We got a fiery dog. Seems only accurate that he would be guarding the underworld. He has a very, very high special attack stat, higher even than Charizard Y, which honestly I wasn't expecting for some reason. He's at a great speed tier, coming in at 115. This will outspeed a lot of stuff, especially in draft-based leagues. Even OU Pokemon will be getting outsped by this UU Mega, which is pretty crazy. He has Menacing set up in the form of Nasty Plot. One of the few Pokemon to utilize Nasty Plot is Houndoom, and I think he does so very, very well, since there aren't a lot of coverage moves for him to choose from, and Nasty Plot is terrifying coming off a 140 special attack stat. He also has a lot of weird tech choices, and this is the bullet point that's going to come up a couple of times in the upcoming slides. And what basically that means is, so for example with Houndoom gets stuff like Sucker Punch, it gets Will-O-Wisp, it gets weird physical moves that people might not be expecting, and there's just, when I say it has weird tech choices, that means there is a lot of options for creativity, and because of that I don't want to go too in excuse me, I don't want to get too in depth, because I know a lot of my opponents are going to be likely watching this video, and if I'm giving away too many of my weird tech choices, that's just not going to be a good time. So if a bullet point says weird tech choices, you're just going to have to trust me, even though I'm probably not going to be revealing as many weird tech choices as there are, so please understand. But anyways, that is Mega Houndoom. I am very, very happy to have this guy. Obviously would have preferred to have Charizard, but Houndoom I think will be a adequate replacement, I hope at least. Next we have Dracania, the Latias. Dracania is some famous dragon from Norse mythology or something, I don't remember, but it's a nice powerful name, so I went with it. It is a really great supportive Pokemon, especially on a hyper offense team, having access to Healing Wish, which I think is one of the greatest tools a hyper offense team can have, able to usually get a free switch into another Pokemon and restore them to full health and remove any status, so it doesn't get much better than that, I don't think. It also has Wish, just regular Wish, to give my team a little bit of sustain, even though my draft is not bulky at all. It might come in handy to have a Wish Passer. It's at a good speed tier, I would say, not as great as Houndoom, but I figured anything above 100 is pretty good. He has, she has crazy coverage, both physically and specially. It can hit a lot of stuff very, very hard, and I'm very excited to try to utilize that. And she does have typing synergy with my other two offensive mons, or high tier offensive mons, of Houndoom and Terrakion. If we run through it, any ground or water type attacks or fighting type attacks aimed at Houndoom or Terrakion, Latias can likely switch into. On the other side of that, any dark types trying to threaten Latias can be switched into by Houndoom or Terrakion. They also can deal with rock and steel types that can switch into Latias. The only issue is going to be fairies, I think. That will probably provide a bit of a problem for my offensive core, but we are just going to have to put our faith in our Pokemon. So that's Dracania. I guess I will say I could have gone the more offensive route and gone with Latios, but like I was talking about earlier, I really wanted Healing Wish because I think that's a great hyper offense tool, and Latios also gives me a tiny bit more bulk than Latios, which could be life or death. I guess we'll see. Let me get a sip of water, I'm sorry. Alright, so next we have our franchise of Argos. I think this is the god of the earth in Norse mythology, some powerful name. I think most of these names are just random power, but Regardless, speaking of power, this thing has disgusting offensive potential as we saw last season. It is the wall breaker extraordinaire and also a very strong booster, having access to Swords Dance or Rock Polish or Calm Mind, but I don't think you'll ever see a Calm Mind Terrakion on this channel. It's again a good speed tier, nothing ridiculous, but 108 is going to be getting the edge on those base 100 Pokemon, so that is always nice. And it has decent or usable coverage. It gets access to Earthquake, which is great. It gets Iron Head and Poison Jab, and I think Zen Headbutt, so it definitely has usable coverage. It's nothing crazy, and I don't think it's anything that will catch opponents off guard, but it can hit the stuff it needs to, and that is going to be what's important. So very, very excited, of course, to have Terrakion back. I brought him every single week last season, and I don't think I'll do that again, but hey, who knows? If the matchups are there, then I'm going to bring him. Next up, we have Banksy, the Galvantula. Banksy is a famous graffiti artist. I don't remember where he hails from, but it seemed appropriate because this thing sets up sticky web and also has weird moves like Gastro Acid that seem sort of like graffiti type moves, so that's why we have Banksy the Galvantula. Like I said, sticky web support and strong stab in the form of Thunder, which is greatly benefited by his ability Compound Eyes. We can still miss it, I think, but it's a much lower chance to miss it, which is always nice. He is one of the few pivoters we did pick up, so he is a Volt Switcher, and again, he has those weird tech choices. Not gonna say too much, but he does get Sucker Punch, I will say, which is very, very weird and pretty cool. So a hidden priority user is in the form of Galvantula, and he also comes in at the same speed stat as Terrakion at 108, which is pretty good, I would say. Next we got Sobek. This is an Egyptian god with the head of I think it's the head of a crocodile, so technically not accurate, but whatever. He is a powerful booster, similar to Terrakion. He can boost his attack or his speed and attack. So I don't think he has agility. Heck, maybe he does, but the main ones I'm thinking of are Dragon Dance and Swords Dance. He has priority in Aqua Jet, which is really, really useful, especially if you are going to be using a Swords Dance set. He has great damage output even without boosting. Sheer Force Life Orb is nothing to laugh about, especially because most of the moves he uses benefit from Sheer Force. I mean, you got Waterfall, you got Ice Punch, you got Crunch, and I guess Aqua Jet doesn't, Earthquake doesn't, but most of the time you're going to be using a move that benefits from Sheer Force, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage very quickly. And he does have really nice coverage, like some of the things I said earlier. I think he gets Poison Jab, he might get a Psychic move, I don't remember exactly, and he gets Rock moves, so really nice coverage that I can hopefully take advantage of. A little on the slow side for this draft in general, but this guy I think will be very, very scary under Sticky Web, and he can boost his speed, so I'm not too worried about the 78 base speed, even though that's one of the lowest on the team, I believe, until we get into like Armaldo territory. That doesn't count though. Next we got the Himalayas. I think you all know what the Himalayas are. He is a great assister, and what I mean by that is similar to Latias with Healing Wish, he can set up another Pokemon by using Memento, which is a move that's really similar to Healing Wish, honestly, because it makes you faint, it makes the user faint, and then it reduces the opponent's attack and special attack by 2 stages, which is pretty crazy. So it gives you the free switch, and it really cripples the opponent. So if I can go for a Memento and then bring out some crazy like dual dancing Terrakion, it's going to be over before it even started. So another great tool for hyper offense, not only because it's an assister, but also because it can trap any Pokemon that is grounded. I believe Arena Trap works like that, so I can't trap flying types and I can't trap levitate users. I'm not actually positive. I'll have to look into that before I start using this guy, but he does have Arena Trap, which is great to utilize. He's at a crazy speed tier at 120, almost rivaling Greninja, and that's just insane speed to have all the way down in C tier. I believe this guy is C tier. And he makes a great stealth rocker because of his speed tier. He is very, very fast. If he's Focus Sash, he's basically guaranteed getting these rocks up, and then afterwards he can maybe memento you down, or does he get Endeavor? I don't know. Maybe I should have done more research, but anyways, he's a great stealth rocker, and I'm very excited to have him. Not the greatest attack stat, unfortunately, so our Earthquakes or Stone Edges will not be doing very much damage, but that's not really why he's here. He's not here to damage stuff. He's here to be an assister and to set up hazards and play some mind games with Arena Trap. So very, very happy to have Himalayas on the team. Next we got Ditto, and I think Ditto might be one of the Pokemon I am most stoked about, except perhaps Terrakion, because of these following reasons. Bogart the Ditto. A Bogart is those things from Harry Potter that transform into your worst fear, and I don't think there's anything scarier than having a setup Pokemon and then have a Scarfed Ditto come out and destroy your team. So Ditto is definitely going to be your worst fear if you're setting up on me. He provides a lot of team building pressure because he handicaps and neuters boosters. And what I mean by that is you essentially, if you're setting up a Pokemon, if you're boosting with a Pokemon against a Ditto, you can't, or you shouldn't, have a move that you could kill yourself with, if that makes sense. So it really limits the coverage that some of these Pokemon can run, because if you're running, for example, what's a good example? Like Terrakion, for example. If you're running Swords Dance Terrakion and you have close combat, this Ditto is just going to come in after you kill something and end your whole career, because it's going to be Scarfed and it's going to destroy you. So for that reason, I think it's arguably the best Scarfer / best revenge killer available to anyone. I think that's fair to say, because of just how well he can utilize his Scarf and revenge kill stuff. He's very low risk, high reward, because worst case he's revealing enemy spreads, which sounds good to me, and best case he's winning you the game and trucking through the opponent's team. So I just feel like it's a very low risk, high reward Pokemon, and very, very stoked to have him on the team. I haven't played with Ditto too much, almost at all, so this will be great practice for me going into future seasons, I guess. Next up, let me get a sip of water actually. Next up we got Vodka, the Frostlass. I was trying to think of a name for this thing, and during my Google searches, there's apparently a brand of vodka called like the Frozen Ghost or something, so seemed accurate to have a ice ghost type be named after a brand of vodka. I don't know. Anyways, he is a threatening lead because he has Destiny Bond and is very, very fast. So what this can do is allow me to play some mind games and potentially 1-for-1 with an opponent's lead. So if I can set up a spike and take down an opponent with me, that's like best case scenario for this Frostlass. But he doesn't have to be a lead. He has great ghosts. He has Ghost Stab, which I'm really excited about. I think Ghost Stab is overlooked a lot. It's virtually unresisted. I think it's only resisted by dark types and of course normal types, but there's not a whole lot of normal types running around, and at least I don't think there are that get drafted. And having only one type that resists is really, really good. So I'm pretty excited to use Ghost Stab. He doesn't have great special attack stat or attack stat, but nevertheless I am excited to try to make that work. He's at a good speed tier again. Base 110 is pretty crazy to have, especially down here in the C tier. And being a ghost type, he is a spin blocker. So this could come in handy if someone is trying to go for rapid spin on my sticky web or my stealth rock or my spike or whatever the heck it may be. He's not bulky, as you can kind of tell, so not necessarily going to be the best of spin blockers. Normally you want a spin blocker that's kind of bulky, I think, is generally the point of view, so we'll see. We'll see if he can prevent some stuff from getting spun away. Next up, we got Bolt, the Zangoose, mostly just because of it looks like he has a lightning bolt on his head. That's really the only reasoning there. He's a crazy menacing wall breaker, 115 attack stat in D tier, as well as having access to toxic boost and facade combination is ridiculous. He has pretty much the ideal coverage, I would say. He has close combat to hit rock types and steel types that resist your stab, and he gets knockoff to hit those ghost types that are immune to your stab, so I don't think it gets much better than that. He also is a booster. Toxic boost kind of boosts him, and he also gets Swords Dance, so the damage output on this Pokemon can reach astronomical levels if it wants to, and along with that, it gets priority, which is great. It gets quick attack, much stronger than Terrakian's quick attack since it is stab. So a rather middling speed tier, I suppose, but similar to Feraligatr, I think that this guy will really shine if I can control Sticky Web, because if this guy is under web, I think it's going to be very, very scary. Base 90 is not really fast, but if everything is getting slowed down by 1.5, it's going to be outspeeding, I don't know the math, but it's going to be outspeeding a lot of stuff, and it does have that priority in case it is not outspeeding. So very happy to use Zangoose. I think it's going to bring a lot of wall breaking potential to the team, and being such a low tier Pokemon, it's very, very high threat, so I think it's going to be great. Next we have Heimlich. Heimlich is that caterpillar from A Bug's Life, that really fat guy who turns into a butterfly eventually. So this is Heimlich if he started going to the gym and lost a bunch of weight and became a butterfly. So shoot for your dreams, kids. He has the perfect ability, in my opinion, in Compound Eyes, because it boosts the accuracy of Sleep Powder and Hurricane, which are the two moves you're usually going to be using on this thing because of Quiver Dance. If you can put something to sleep and start going for Quiver Dance, it's going to get scary in a hurry. It has nice coverage, it gets Psychic and Grass moves and Poison moves, I believe, and then of course Flying and Bug moves, so pretty okay coverage. Steel types are going to wall you all the way to 3 Wasted Monday, but what can you do? And it does have some strong tech choices. I really don't want to reveal too much, like I've been saying all these times, but it is a pivoter. It does get U-turn, so that's kind of fun. Not the highest speed tier, but I'm not too worried about it because I can boost up my speed with Quiver Dance, which, if I can just random Quiver Dance for a second, I think is the most broken boosting move in this game, rivaling even that of Tail Glow in my opinion, because it can boost your speed, it boosts your special attack, but it also boosts your special defense. So Vivillon can't make the best use of the special defense boost, I guess, but if you have a bulkier Pokemon like Lilligant or like Volcarona, Quiver Dance lets you set up on specially offensive Pokemon, which is crazy. It's not really something that no other move really does that to this extent. I mean, you have Calm Mind and Bulk Up, but those aren't boosting your speed, so I just find Quiver Dance to be obscene, and it gets out of hand insanely fast. We had this used against us last season in the form of Quiver Dance Lilligant, so we know firsthand how crazy Quiver Dance can be, and I'm very, very excited to have a Quiver Dancer on the team. Next we got Under Armour, the Armaldo. I'm not sure about this name. Under Armour obviously because it's the brand and he is under a lot of armor, but all the other names are like actual names, and we have these powerful gods and guardians of the underworld and all this stuff, and then we have Under Armour, the Armaldo, which comes from the BC line, so thank you for the name. But I couldn't think of anything, so if anyone wants to leave a suggestion in the comment section for a powerful name, he's like an armadillo with claws, so there wasn't a lot to work with there, I didn't think. If you want to leave me a powerful name, please do, and who knows, maybe it will be used. Anyways, he has cool typing both defensively and offensively. There's not a whole lot of bug rock types running around, and Armaldo is one of them. He has great hazard control, being able to set up rocks or spin them away. He is, again, a booster. I think he might also get agility, but he definitely gets Swords Dance and Aqua Jet for some priority, so really cool. And if we look at these stats for a second, this is a PU Mon. He has a monstrous attack stat for no reason, and a really high defense stat as well, so obviously, like we were saying earlier in the video, his speed stat is not fantastic, but you're not looking for speed from Armaldo anyways, so really just focusing on the attack and defense. That's crazy for a PU Mon. I'm not sure why this thing is even PU. Maybe it will secretly suck and it will be revealed to us why this guy is PU, but it's very surprising to me to have these stats in a E tier Mon. Seems a little crazy. But that will bring us to our final pick, which is Lucifer, the devil. He is our weather counter. There were a couple weird weather teams developing as the draft went on. There's a rain team running around and like a potential weird kind of sand team as well, so this will hopefully combat those guys if we ever go against them. He has synergy with Houndoom. Like I was saying earlier, this guy can set up the sun, and Houndoom has that solar power, which is really nice. There are some weird tech choices on Ninetales. He gets Will-O-Wisp and Hex and some weird coverage moves, so kind of excited to play some mind games with this guy. And he is of course a booster as well. He gets Nasty Plot like Houndoom and can utilize it, I mean just as well. Under the sun, a nasty plotting Ninetales is pretty scary, so a nice speed stat at base 100, not great special attack stat, but again, since he will have that artificial boost from the sun, that will benefit his fire blasts or his flamethrowers, and also give him that one turn solar beam, which is basically all you can ask for, so that's like the perfect scenario right there. So that's the draft. Now we're going to be looking quickly at pros and cons of the draft as a whole, and then I will finally let you guys go. So pros, we got Ditto. Like I said, I was very stoked about Ditto, and we got Galvantula, so I just gave those two like a point of their own, because these two Pokemon I think are going to be keeping the team together. I'm so stoked that I got these guys, and I just can't even express how happy I am to have Ditto as well as Galvantula, so that's why they are a pro. Another pro is how many hazard setters we have on this team. We have one Defogger in Latias and one Rapid Spinner in Armaldo, so maybe not the most amount of ways to get rid of them, but we have a plethora of ways to set them up, so I'm very excited to utilize the variety of, we have Spike Stackers, we have Sticky Web, we have Stealth Rockers, so I think it's going to be a good time, give my opponents a really rough time getting rid of all these hazards. Over here, if you look at the various stats, these are our average stats if you get rid of Ditto. I took Ditto out of the calculations because Ditto's never going to have his own stats anyways, so it didn't really seem fair to include him in the average stats. But we come in at a average 98 speed, which I believe is fastest in the league right now. Again, this is a little skewed because I have one less Pokemon than everyone else, so if another person were to take out their slowest Pokemon, I probably wouldn't have the fastest speed stat in the league, but 98 is nevertheless really quick. And then we have pretty nice attack and special attack stats as well. I was trying to figure this out, which is why you see numbers next to it. I calculated it again, except only, like for example with attack, I only averaged the physically attacking Pokemon in my calculations, and then the same for special attack, I only calculated the average of the special attacking Pokemon. But we have more special Pokemon than physical Pokemon, and yet our special attack stat is not significantly lower, but like 10 points lower than our attack stat. So that is confusing me to this day, but I'm really not sure what's going on. But regardless, really high attack stat, really high special attack stat, very excited. Basically perfectly what I was going for. We have mediocre defenses, really strong attack, really strong special attack, and a pretty blistering speed tier. So pretty much exactly what I was going for. And then like I was saying before, this trio down here in the bottom right corner of Latias, Houndoom, and Terrakion I think support each other really well. They can handle a variety of types except except fairies, like I was saying earlier, so I'm kind of concerned about fairies, but each of these mons do get a coverage move for fairies. I think Houndoom might not, but he does get hidden powers, so each of them do get a coverage move for fairies, so we might be able to make it work, but switching into offensive fairies is, I think, going to be an issue, so that's going to bring us into the cons, which is going to be switching into fairies, like I said earlier. And then if we look at this chart, like I was saying before, I paid essentially no attention to defensive typing synergy, which is why this chart is a little wonky right now. We have 6 in particular. We have 6 rock weaknesses and 1 resist, which is pretty crazy and not very safe, especially because a lot of teams bring stealth rocks. We have, I guess the only other significant one is we have 4 water weaknesses and only 2 resists, so not terrible. I mean, I guess keep in mind that I was expecting this. This isn't something I wasn't planning for. I knew that my chart was not going to look great, especially not compared to last season. I think last season was the greatest defensive synergy I've ever had in any season. So I was expecting to have this kind of situation, and honestly, I don't think it looks too bad. We are covered fairly well. There's nothing that truly stands out except that rock weakness, so I'm feeling okay. I wish it wasn't quite as high. I wish maybe we had 1 or 2 or maybe even 1 more rock resist, but it is what it is. We might make a free agent, who knows. We haven't even had our first match yet, so we got to see how things go throughout the season before we make any decisions like that. And then the other part of that is we have only 2 defensive Pokemon, really, in my opinion, in Latias and Armaldo. You can make an argument that Ninetales could be especially defensive, but aside from that, not a whole lot of defense on this team. But again, I was planning for this. This is something I was expecting, so even though like that was the plan, so I don't know if I should list this as a con, but I think having not a lot of defensive Pokemon is going to make my life pretty challenging. So I am up for the challenge, but I think it is nevertheless going to be difficult to compete in this league and only have really 2 defensive Pokemon. So that's why they're on the con page, not because I don't like them, but because they make up my only defensive core out of 12 Pokemon, which is kind of insane. But regardless, that is pretty much it. Sorry, we have one more slide. This is a pretty easy slide, though. I just listed the wall breakers and the boosters. Ninetales could be a booster as well, I suppose, as well as Zangoose, but then the list just kind of looked the same, so I tried to sort them into which category they are most likely to fill. So we got a lot of wall breakers, a lot of powerful boosters, and then in the bottom right, those are going to be what we call our assister Pokemon. We got that Memento Dugtrio, we got that Ditto to prevent enemy teams from boosting on us, and we got that Frostlass that can potentially 1-for-1 a lead of the opponent's choice. And I think Latias should probably be over there too with that Healing Wish support. But regardless, that at long last is it. So thank you very much for watching. That is going to be my draft breakdown for Season 6. I'm very excited for this season because I have never tried this form of battling before in a draft-based league. Obviously, I've played hyper offense styles in laddering, but I never really had that much success, so this is going to be kind of a challenge for me, and I'm definitely excited to see how it works out. I would say my playstyle is mostly bulky offense. I try to bring at least half my team when I'm laddering is bulky and can take hits and has recovery, while the other half can maybe set up or just kill some stuff. So I think bulky offense is normally what I play, so I'm kind of out of my comfort zone, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to see how it works. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're excited for this season. I hope you're just as pumped as I am, because I am getting really amped. Our first match is against Ewok, our good friend Trevor, who started the channel, so that's going to be crazy. He is a very talented battler. He decimated the Little League last season, and he's going to definitely give us a run for our money. It's a rough matchup to have for our debut episode, especially because I'm not familiar with my team yet. But that's not going to stop us. We're going to still try to pick up that win and start things off right. So Anyways, finally, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. This has been Daniel, and EnteiTainment out.